Good morning, YouTube. JT Serenity Farms prepping here. I have an emergency update due to Air Como, the tyrannical despot piece of shit ruining New York State, on Assembly Bill A11179. December 4th, this bill was submitted, and it relates to administering a COVID-19 vaccine. That's a cute little title, isn't it? The bill was sponsored by L. Rosenthal. Current bill status in Assembly Committee. It was introduced, now it's in committee. It'll go to on-floor calendar, then it'll be a passed Senate, passed Assembly, delivered to Governor, signed or vetoed by Governor. Yeah, this will be expedited exponentially. I'd be surprised if it isn't already signed. So, A11179 is active. Here are the details. Requires a COVID-19 vaccine to be administered in accordance with the Department of Health's COVID-19 Vaccination Administration Program and mandates vaccinations in certain situations. So, as I said, December 4th, 2020, introduced by committee L. Rosenthal, was read once and then referred. This is an act to amend the public health law in relation to administering a COVID-19 vaccine. The people of the state of New York, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1, Article 21 of the public health law is amended by adding a new Title 8 to read as follows. At the time a vaccination for COVID-19 is approved by the United States FDA and Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research Vaccine Product Approval Process and the New York State Clinical Advisory Task Force, such vaccination will be required to be safely and effectively distributed in accordance with the Department's Vaccination Administration Program. Section 2. Once the FDA Center for Biological Evaluation and Research and that same agency task force have approved the safety and effectiveness of said vaccination, and they've promoted and distribution plans have begun pursuant to the Department's COVID-19 Vaccination Administration Program, if public health officials, remember that, determine that residents of the state are not developing sufficient immunity from COVID-19, the department shall mandate vaccination for all individuals or groups of individuals who, as shown by clinical data, are proven to be safe and receive such vaccine. Number 3. Any individual who has received a medical exemption from a licensed medical professional shall not be mandated to receive the COVID-19 vaccine and shall be excluded from the requirements of this section. This act shall take effect immediately. So, there's a couple problems with this A11179 in stark and direct contradiction to Legislative Bill A99, which was slid in the middle of the night a few weeks ago. That one detailed penalties for anyone refusing And just a couple of weeks later, the New York State Bar presented a list of penalties to the governor that they believe should be mandated with the vaccines, which clearly state no exemption for any reason, including medical, personal, or religious, shall be allowed. But yet here they're saying that a medical exemption from a doctor will be. But they're going to mandate it. Okay, so we already know what a tyrannical despot piece of shit Cuomo is, based on his murder of 10,000 plus elderly patients in March, hoarding of the mask needed and the ventilators needed, refusal of the Navy ship that President Trump personally got ready for him, and then he intentionally slid an active COVID patient onto the boat so that it wouldn't have to be used. Everything that this man has done since March has been completely the opposite of what was required for the state to continue living, working, playing, and existing. All by design. Now, this latest edict is stated as being mandated. Alright, so there may be some kickback on that. Well, as I mentioned before, he doesn't have to mandate that we all line up to get it. He can force businesses in New York State to require proof of immunization before being allowed to enter. A lot of these business owners are fellow libtards just like he is, and they'll gladly comply with that edict. But this would be a backdoor way of mandating that every single New York resident has to receive in order to buy, sell, trade, travel. Okay? So if you can't go anywhere if you don't have a vaccination, wouldn't that be forcing you to get it? Why, yes. Yes, it would. I have mentioned many times, I'm a New York State retired employee. The state cuts my check and provides my health insurance even though I earned all that I have and it doesn't come out of their pocket. They could withhold those. Okay? I have money in a credit union. Those credit unions could mandate needing an immunization card to come through the door to get my own money. Sporting events, concerts, restaurants, you name it, if they get on board with it, because they will be heavily penalized, if not shut down, for not requiring anyone entering to show proof. My vehicle is registered and inspected and insured in New York State. Those could all be denied to me in an attempt to force me to get a vaccination. Okay, now it states in here, public health officials will determine by clinical data if an individual or a group of individuals is safe to take the vaccine. So, let's use the county closest to me, Clinton County. Virtually no cases, 5 deaths since March, which we have yet to prove were actually from the vid. Everything has spiraled downward since March. Yet just last week, our local government agencies shut down. We have a major 4-year university and a smaller 2-year college within 5 miles of each other, that the overwhelming majority of the students are from points south, aka cesspool, New York City, Long Island. They were gone, they came back, cases uptick, positive test cases. Well, as we know, the overwhelming majority of test cases are false positives, or the person is completely asymptomatic, never gets sick. We're not going to get into the testing and the boondoggle that is and how that test is rigged just to get money and pump up the fear and hysteria. But it factors into Air Como mandating this tyrannical, unconstitutional edict. But depending on where you look up, there are some wordings that allow him to mandate a vaccination in an extreme medical emergency. We are not in an extreme medical emergency. We are in an extreme socialist piece of shit emergency. So, I refuse every attempt to force me to get a vaccination. Where are you going to run? You can't cross state lines. You can't drive. Your license won't be renewed. Your accounts will be frozen. At some point, they are going to hunt us down and imprison us in re-education camps to protect society from the untreated. Or they may just take a family member hostage, your job, your livelihood, anything to get you to comply. There are so many things we need to think about. I am not going to take the vaccination. But I have a daughter who's not quite the same mindset as I am, and her job, I guarantee, will require her. She is essential personnel. I do not want her to take it. I do not believe that this vaccination is on the up and up, as do many of you. I can talk to her. I can tell her all I have discovered and what I believe. But she's 30 years old. Ultimately, she will make up her own mind. I have another daughter and 5 grandchildren all the way across the United States that I cannot protect at this time. I'm just saying we all have to do some deep thinking. They are not going to allow us to not get the Mark vaccination for long. Sooner rather than later, they will come looking for us. The decision is everyone's alone to make. As the libtards say, it is my body, my choice, But as we know, the hypocrites only use that when it suits them. It is time to start getting your people together to make sure you are prepared. No one is going to be able to survive this alone by sheer numbers. If they eventually come for me, I won't be making any more videos. I'm not running. There won't be anywhere to run. It is that serious. It's deadly serious. We've got a lot of issues going on right now. We have so much to think of. Everything that's going on. We needed one more thing. You're going to see all the cesspool state mayors and governors doing this same thing in an attempt to force the population further under their thumbs. I can't tell everyone what to do. I just know what I'm doing. Like, share, subscribe, comment, notification bell. But for now, JT, signing off.